This is Ryan Abraham, Dan Weber, USCFootball.com, Instant Analysis outside of Howard Jones Field because we're not allowed inside. Tuesday practice, we get to talk to the offensive players today, but the big news, Dan, of course, Penn State sanctions greatly reduced, well below what USC is now still serving. Lane Kiffin talked about that a little bit. Maybe just share what he had to say.
Well, first of all, I guess he tweeted earlier today that he was thrilled to death and he calls Bill O'Brien coach, and he said really happy for coach, and we're not the kind of situation where we're pleased that somebody else gets sanctioned. So he said he's thrilled for Penn State, and it does impact USC a little bit because Lane talks about how the sanctions are really limiting what he can do. He said today in practice, for example, he said if you only knew. Well, of course we don't. He said, but they've got guys who haven't played all year who would be normal candidates for a red shirt who are running first and second team reps. So he said you wouldn't even guess how thin we are. And you talk about thin. We just saw Andre Walker walk by in a boot. Leonard Williams went in with the rehab crew today. I know they're saying Silas Redd is closer to, much closer to playing, but he still isn't in football shoes, and so it's not going to happen this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got to talk to Silas Redd a little bit, and people were asking about the Penn State sanctions. Lane Kiffin was asked, and you asked him about, is something USC can do here because Penn State got a reduction? Is USC going to try to follow suit?
Well, we put that in the war room in July, which I thought was interesting that Bill O'Brien, Penn State coach, had a strategy session with their board of trustees, and about an hour he met with them and said, this is our plan for getting our scholarships, getting them back. And I know, and some of our people said, that's crazy talk. There's no way even to approach the NCAA about something like that. Well, what is it, 6 weeks later, he got the scholarships back. Yeah. Wow, maybe if you, and people say, well, USC just wasn't as cooperative. Wait a minute, the state of Pennsylvania sued the NCAA already. I mean, people in Pennsylvania are really unhappy and have done all kinds of things, against the NCAA. Doesn't seem to have affected them. So, it probably points out that maybe USC's strategy to go along, get along, let it go by, it's almost over, maybe is not a good strategy.
It didn't sound like Lane Kiffin and talked to the Board of Trustees or Pat Hayden, anyone. They talked about that, trying to do that going forward.
Yeah, he said he hadn't been involved in anything like that. USC's not involved in anything like that. He doesn't anticipate being involved in anything like that. But he did mention again how difficult it is to manage this roster with these numbers. And he started talking about that after the Utah State game. I mean, we haven't heard that much, but now we're going to hear it, I think, a lot more. And that could mean a couple of things. But it might just mean, we're not in practice, so we don't know how many of those. We can see who's coming and going to the rehab group and all that, but we still don't know how many guys are really, really limited. I mean, I think they were happy today. Marquise Lee says 98, 99%. He said, I'm fine. I'm doing my treatment. Cody Kessler, whatever swelling he had Saturday after the game, which he said really didn't affect his accuracy, it was just more painful. But he said it's gone down and he's fine. So, so far, if Leonard Williams comes around, we're not sure. Andre said maybe by tomorrow he'd be okay, although I don't know. He wasn't exactly tap dancing down the sidewalk here.
And one last thing, just looking ahead to Arizona State, the toughest defense obviously USC's faced so far this year. The offense we know have struggled at times. What do the offensive players and Lane Kiffin say about preparing for Arizona State?
They keep saying they're just about there. They're excited. They just a lot of little things that, they left a lot of points on the board, with the Utah State game, but it just need and I mean, I think one of the crucial improvements that has to happen is Cody Kessler and Marquise Lee have both talked about this, have to get on the same page. And Cody does admit now, he said, not really playing all that much in 2 games probably didn't help. The fact that under game pressure, I wasn't out there with Marquise, and now it showed up. It showed up in the Utah State game for sure. And they think they're going to be able to, figure that out in terms of really knowing where do I, if they, whatever kind of coverage, they see for Marquise, where do I have to deliver the ball? When do I have to deliver it? And Marquise said, Barkley knew all that. Cody's just learning it.
Okay. All right, well, that wraps it up here from outside of Howard Jones Field. For Dan Weber, this is Ryan Abraham. Check out USCFootball.com for more.